good evening to Rajesh over there in Singapore. Thank you for all for joining this roundtable hosted by Lloyd's List and supported by DNV. Rajesh, from the perspective of somebody who operates ships, which of these comes second fiddle? Is one or the other?
So maybe I can lead on from what everybody said. First of all, thanks, Knut and Richard, for putting this report out, and more so sharing with all of us so that we can all learn from those experiences. But I think safety is a sustainability essential. Safety has to be at the foundation of whether it's a digital or low carbon transition. Safety, I think, has to be the foundation. And compromising on safety would mean perhaps compromising on the transition itself. Whether it's the ammonia or any other alternative fuel to look at. And I feel only a measured transition with safety at its core could result in a successful transition. So if you look at DNV's report, it basically highlights about the hot elements, whether it's about human, organizational, technological elements. And the key that we get out of that is that how do we find the intersection between these elements, and how do we then understand the interactions between these elements? And in that, if I put an example, if you look at the alternative fuel, I think we should have safety as the base of the pizza, and then maybe we look on top the intersection between sustainability, technology, and cost maybe. But if you don't have that base of pizza as safety, then I feel that maybe we are also compromising the transition itself. And like Andy mentioned, there are good examples that we have, as an industry, prepared well, whether it's about the IMO 2020 or the LNG, and we can talk about it as we come. But I feel safety is a sustainability essential.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you. One of the issues we had when we were putting this report together is that we have a lot of casualty data and detention data from Europe, but we really struggle to get it from Asia. I'd just like to ask Rajesh, I mean, how do you respond to that? Do you know of incidents and accidents that we just don't cover?
Sorry, I was on mute. Thanks, Richard. I think because today the industry is positioned in such a way that transparency and alignment of interests are not very clear, right? So perhaps that is one of the reasons in why people then generally tend to disclose information that they feel comfortable in disclosing. It's just normal human psychology. And just like how we are discussing about safety risks here, there's a lot of emotion, but if you have to really ask, and if I can give a shot at that answer on safety risks for decarbonization, I like to put a little bit more structure around it, and maybe look at it from a 2x2 matrix, if I can, and maybe give some examples. So if you look at stuff that are known knowns and known unknowns, I think there has been a conventional risk management approach to manage these. And the same will apply with decarbonization. If you look at known knowns and we talk about IMO 2020 or LNG transition, there was a lot of apprehension before we went into this. But I think, and people thought that there could be a lot of disruption. Transition came, and there was not much of disruption, primarily because there were efforts put into our players across the value chain in ensuring the safe transition. And this exercise for decarbonization, I think, can't be like another checklist. So if you then, what I'm most worried about is those unidentified risks and unknown unknowns, where we recognize that some risks are, time and progress dependent, which means there will be some issues and we will need to deal with as it comes. But where we can really collaborate are those areas which are unknown knowns. Where we don't have that information, but somebody else in the industry may have, whether it's a DNV or another ship owner. And that's where I want to plug in this question about transparency. We've also done a lot of biofuel trials and other trials that we've done. Why is it that all those details about these trials, what are the failures, what are the learnings out of these trials, not being shared? Ideally, if you want to address these unknown knowns, then you need to share this. If we are looking at ammonia as an alternative fuel, then whatever little trials have happened, that must be, one, measured, captured accurately, and then shared across the industry. So it can't be just for a safety. And as long as we clearly bucket this under these four, 2x2 metrics, I think people will be more happy to share, whether it's about safety or whether it's about their efforts on decarbonization. And we need to have aligned incentives for that to happen. So I don't think it's very specific about geography. Maybe I don't see it that way. I see it that we need to have clear structure and clear framework for people to be able to share these information.
Rajesh, when you work with ship owners on one side and suppliers on the other side, do you feel that you're working together as a team, or is it often like pulling teeth to get information from one of your, shall we say, colleagues?
No, to be honest, I don't think so. It also depends on what's the values and what's the culture that you as an organization stand up for. And like Jan mentioned, we are at least known in the industry to be very honest and transparent. And we get spanked all the time because, the first thing that an oil major or anybody does to you when you report an incident is to put that ship on hold. So clearly, that's not, encouraging more honest and open reporting, just to be put it out there. But that should not deter you from being still honest and being open. And we have strengthened our relationship with our partners. So if that's the context, whether it's your customer, the ship owner, or your supplier, who's also your partner, as long as we look at each other as partner and create a safe environment where we can share this information, and if we fail fast. I think people, I have seen at least they're very open and encouraging. We still are time charter partners with all oil majors, in spite of being transparent and honest and telling them everything, because it builds a lot of trust. So I think as long as we look at each other as partners and not as vendors or ship suppliers, and create an environment where people are comfortable to raise their hand and say, I made a mistake, people will share and we will collectively become better. And I think the same is happening, whether it's in getting to zero coalition that's coming together with like-minded coalition of the willing. And the good part is 80% of the investments for decarbonization must occur on land, which means that you need cross-sector collaboration. So I think the key then is to create that environment where everybody feels comfortable to share. Why, for example, do we need on different ships, if safety is a common priority, why do we need different posters of each P&I club on the ships saying the same thing? If you go on a ship and the ship changes P&I club, then you see different posters all saying the same thing. Why can't we just simply standardize simple things like this? And I think you don't have to compete on everything. And there are elements where you can collaborate, is what I feel.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you to everyone. I think one of my takeaways is that the media has to be a little bit smarter about how it reports on sustainability and safety. It's been a very good hour, very interesting. I think when you listen to this again, you'll discover things that your colleagues have said, which perhaps you've missed or perhaps you'd like to focus on. I encourage you to continue sharing, because this is a wonderful range of speakers from across the industry. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight, and have a great rest of the day.